We're in 7.1 today, percents and fractions. We're converting back and forth, percents, fractions, even to decimals. All three of them work hand in hand, so you need to understand how they convert back and forth. All right, so first of all, what is a percent? How do I write a percent? A percent is always out of what? What's in the denominator? 100. So if I say there's an 80% chance of rain, that means 80% out of 100. If I say you scored a 90% on your test, that's a 90% out of 100. Percentages are always out of 100. So if you're going to write a percent as a fraction, you're going to write it over what? 100. So 29%. 29 over 100. Is that in simplest form? Done. What about 45%? How do I write it as a fraction?
45 over 100.
Is that simplified?
No.
All right, so go ahead and simplify. All right, go ahead and do 68% on your own. 68 over 100, and I reduce it. 17 over 25. What about when you're going the other way? Now, there's two ways that you can do this. The first way is to change it to a decimal and then to a percentage. Okay, now that way works every time because it doesn't matter what your denominator is. In today's lesson, all of your denominators go into 100 evenly. So what you can do is you can multiply the fraction by whatever number will take your denominator and make your denominator 100. I multiply the first one by 10, top and bottom. So if I multiply it by 10, what does my numerator become? My numerator, 70%. 70%. Okay? What about 5? Does 5 go into 100 evenly?
Yes.
Yep, so I can multiply top and bottom by
20.
So what's 3 times 20? 60%. On your homework tonight, I want you to show me what you're multiplying by. Yep. Yep, you got to show me what you're multiplying by.
20 over 20.
60%. All right, go ahead and do the last one. So what do you multiply 20 by to get to 100? So what's the percentage?
55%.
Any questions? All right, so that's it for example 1. Now in example 2, now I'm looking at probability. Well, it starts off real simple, okay? Now remember with probability, the probability of an event is, what's my ratio? Favorable over what? Not unfavorable, total. Total possible outcomes, favorable over total. So in this case, probability that you are a what? Finalist, right? Is how many make it? How many people are finalists?
1.
1 out of 5. Well, in previous lessons, this is where we ended. But in this section, it wants a percentage. 1 out of 5 is what as a percentage?
20%.
Example 3, finding a percent of a number. Okay, so now anytime you're finding a percent of something, of is a key word for which operation? Multiplication. So if I'm multiplying by percentage, yes, your calculator has a percent button. Yes, you can hit it and still get a correct answer. However, I want you to understand what you're doing here. When you're multiplying by a percentage, it is the fraction. So 40% is technically 40 over 100. That's what your calculator is calculating. So 40 over 100 is what as a decimal? 0. If you're dividing by 100, you move your decimal left 2 places. 0.4. You take that number and you multiply it by your total to find how many pounds is 40%. 6 pounds. Okay? On your homework tonight, I want to see this decimal value. You say, well, I have the percentage button in my calculator. I understand that, but I want you to understand how you're converting and why your answer is 6. It's not because you multiplied by 40. You multiply by 40 over 100, which is technically 0.4. You see the difference? You're not multiplying by a whole number. 40% is out of 100. It's not a whole number. Okay? Yes? Okay, so we're done with that. That's pretty much it. I do want to do this checkpoint real quick. Find the percentages of these numbers. I want you to show the decimal value that you're multiplying. All right, so 25% of 36, you're going to multiply what? 0.25 times 36 equals 9. 0.7 times 70 equals 49. Okay, the third one, what's half of 14? 7. 75% of 80 is 60. Did you get those? Okay, did you show your decimals? All right, very good. Now, what if you had this? What do you think you're going to do with these numbers?
Put them in order.
You're going to put them in order, but you see all different formats. You see percentage, you see a what? Fraction, and a decimal. So you've got to compare the same format. So what do you think you're going to do? You're going to change them all to a percentage, fraction, or a decimal?
Decimal.
Yeah, decimal all the way. You say, well, maybe you have, percentage. Well, maybe, but what if those denominators don't go into 100 evenly? Then that's another mess, okay? So changing them all to decimals is the easiest way. Then when you put them in order, least to greatest, make sure you write it in the original format. 89% is a decimal. What? 0.89. 4/5. 0.8. 7/10. 0.7 and 0.83. So which one's the smallest?
7/10.
What about the next smallest? Then? And 89%. Who got it right? All right, awesome. What if you were asked to find this? So I substitute 20, so what's 20 plus 8? 25% of 28 is what? 7. So let's think about a minute about how, practical our answer is. I know that 25% is how much of 100? It's 1/4. So does it make sense that our answer would be 1/4 of the original amount? Yeah.
You can just divide it by 4.
Exactly. So what if I asked you what's 75% of 28?
Could I just do that would be 28 divided by 3.
No, divided by 3.
Divided by 1/3.
12. 3/4. 28 times 3 is 21. 21.
Okay.
3/4.
Who says 21? Yeah, it's 21, right? Because, again, 25% is 1/4. So if you're finding 3/4, 3/4 of the pie, okay, well, if you're breaking 28 into fourths, it goes 7, 14, 21, and then 28. So 21 is 75%. So whenever it's these percentages broken up, especially 25, 50, 75, you should be able to do those mental math, right? Okay, because you're essentially just dividing by 4. Same thing with 20%, right? You're just dividing by 5. Okay. What about this one? All right, so substitution, multiply, and again, 1/4 of 200 is 50. Okay, another way you can figure it out is what's half of 200? 100. What's half of 100? 50. Okay. All right, guys, that is everything you need to know for 7.1.
That was super